it's worrying about kids or grandkids or feeling pressure to manage more than we can handle, there are moments in the everyday when we all feel anxious, right? My next guest has strategies on how to deal with daily anxiety and help yourself or someone you love feel a little bit better. Therapist Dr. Mark Chamberlain is here to help. It's always great to see you.
Great to see you.
We were just chatting during the commercial break. It seems like if you were to just randomly pull 5 strangers off the street, 3 out of 5, this is just my observation, of course, nothing statistical, but it seems like so many more people these days are dealing with the effects of anxiety. Is it on the rise?
Yeah, I see it in my practice, and surveys show that college students, over half of them say they've sought help for their anxiety.
Over half?
Over half.
What is anxiety then trying to tell us, trying to teach us, Mark?
Anxiety is our brain's way of trying to tell us there's a potential threat. Anxiety, when it becomes a problem, is the brain that threat identifier is overactive.
Would you say anxiety is easy to recognize? I mean, I think we all know the standout symptoms, but are there sometimes underlying symptoms at work that we might not catch?
Yeah, and it's hard to tell the difference between what's healthy apprehension, because something's intimidating, and what is problematic anxiety. Where does it get to the point where it's interfering with our ability to function and we're paralyzed by the anxiety? And
that's a line you would draw. If we're unable to function or move past, move through, work with that anxiety, that anxious feeling, that's a time to maybe seek additional help.
Yeah, so for example, someone who's apprehensive about health and they're trying to help their family eat more vegetables versus feeling paralyzed at the store or in the kitchen because I've been learning so much about carcinogens that my mind's worried all the time about someone in my family getting sick.
I like the target focus of our conversation today. We're looking at daily anxiety, right? Techniques to take that daily stress, that daily, those daily anxious feelings that we experience down a notch. And you say the first step is to keep doing what's scary, to push past the anxiety, so to speak.
Yeah, anxiety is often a growing pain. If you think about the things in your life that make you anxious, often it's those areas where you're broadening your horizons a little bit or challenging yourself.
Right.
So it's a sign that you're still moving and growing and alive.
So the payoff, you're growing. What would be the downside if you didn't push past that discomfort?
Well, there's not too many downsides, because if we don't push past it, if we anxiety holds us back today, there'll be another chance tomorrow. We're going to feel anxious again, and so we'll have to push past it then. The problem is when, as a lifestyle, we're not pushing past it. And then our life is becoming more stagnant and limited. And actually, when we give into anxiety, the more we give into it, the more it grows, ironically. Anxiety
can feel threatening in a sense. You say the key to taking the alarm out of it is to learn more about it, to do your research.
Yeah, somehow anxiety feels less distressing when I know that the amygdala in my brain is signaling my adrenal gland to dump cortisol, and that's what's making me feel tight in my chest or tingly. It somehow lessens that sense of threat from it.
How treatable is anxiety?
Oh, very treatable. It's fun to see. It's one of the most fun things I do in my practice, because you see people getting more and more free of the anxiety, and it's less and less limiting.
I like that word, free.
Yes, yeah. There's one gentleman in my practice who 18 years he spent mostly in his basement, started facing his anxiety by taking his daughter to kindergarten. Now he's got a job and he's going back to school, and that feeling of freedom, I get the chills just thinking about his life and the life of other anxiety sufferers when they face it and push past it.
Awesome. With the daily anxiety that we're talking about, you say there are self-soothing skills that everyone really needs to know, because if you're not experiencing it yourself, chances are you know someone, a friend, a neighbor, a sister, a child that might benefit from these skills.
Yeah, and they're easy to learn. They're best if they become practices. So learn about skills like breathing, nice full breaths to calm anxiety, or mindfulness. Online you can find an MP3 or a video that will guide you through it, and if we use those, or even an app on your phone, if we use those daily or a few times a week, we develop that practice of anxiety calming that really works. The research shows they really work.
Is there benefit to tapping into tools like that, even if you aren't feeling anxious in the moment, maybe warding off what might be coming down the road?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, calming our nervous system so that it's our default is at a more calm level. Absolutely, that makes us more stress resilient.
And it's interesting, you hit a buzzword there with the word mindfulness. We talk about the prevalence of anxiety and how it seems to be on the rise. We're also talking a lot more about being present, being more mindful. So those two hopefully at some point might counteract each other.
Yeah, they've shown by research that the practice of mindfulness does calm that part of the brain I talked about, the amygdala, and makes it less reactive to stressful events.
You say reaching out for help can help lighten the load.
Yeah, it's one of the most instinctive things. We're going through a hard time, we're feeling anxious about it, either texting a loved one or talking to them on the phone, or at the end of the day being able to tell them, I had a hard time, and see in their eyes that they get it really soothes, calms the nervous system, because we're not alone in it anymore.
We talk about the tools like the breathing, right, or the podcasts on our iPhone or whatnot, but how much can that human-to-human connection, that TLC, really make a difference?
Oh, it's big, and ironically, when I'm anxious, it does as much good to provide TLC, to give touch, to give a hug, even to do a kindness for a stranger. It activates the body's, what they call the tend and befriend system, and when we're tending and befriending, it's switching off that fight or flight response.
That's fascinating. So giving of yourself in those anxious moments can help bring yourself down.
Yeah, it's a great way to calm anxiety. And for me, at the end of the day, when I know I need to have a good night's sleep, that's when I'll go around and touch my family members and scratch their backs or do those kinds of things. And sometimes they'll say, Dad, you got to sleep well tonight, don't you? It's like, yep, works for me. This is my drug. This is better than Ambien for me.
I love that. I love that. Mark, thank you so much. If people want to get in touch with you, how can they do so?
Suncrest Counseling online. You can find us there.
And we'll post a link from our website too. Great to have you as always. Thank you.